Today on Pour Us, we are going to be discussing the medicinal purposes of whiskey, liqueurs, and some of the old common folklore, wives' tales, myths around them, what people used to do back in the good old days. There were just a lot of medicinal purposes that I don't know if they were excuses.
Say whether they're wives' tales or actually medical enhancements.
I've got anxiety again today. Fetch the whiskey. But it was thought to cure a lot of, stress and anxiety, pain relief.
Well, they even at one point said the plague.
Yeah, the plague.
Yep.
Just like if you had bad blood.
I got the black plague, Pop.
Yeah. We wanted to talk a little bit about some of the different beliefs behind the folklore and what people used to do. And if there's any that pop up into your head, definitely shoot a comment down below and let's keep the conversation going.
Yeah, what did your grandparents or parents say was, you need to drink this at this age because it's going to help you out.
Yeah, or they did my parents were in an era, if a baby was teething and they were crying and you didn't have oral care for babies in the medicine cabinet, you dabbled some whiskey in your finger and rubbed it on their gums and it numbed it enough and it seemed to work. So,
well, and I mean, this is terrible, obviously, so do not do this if you're new parents.
No.
But I mean, you hear those stories of, well, we've got friends over, the baby's fussy. You give them a little bit of whiskey, not just rub it on their teeth. And it's like, oh, the baby is now just calm as can be. Yeah, don't do that.
Even the old Western movies, like they would get shot and they're just going to rip the bullet out there in the plains.
Civil War, cutting off a leg.
Yeah. You take a slug of whiskey, pour some on the wound, and bite it on a stick.
Yep.
Yeah. Ugh. Your only option, though.
Well, we were actually supposed to do this video a couple days ago, but I had to have a crown replaced. And I'm sitting in that chair when we were supposed to be shooting this video, and I'm thinking, I would not want to go through this with only having a pull or two of whiskey. Mm-hmm. And if they're working on your mouth, you can't exactly bite down on a stick either. So
right.
I just thank God for modern medicine.
Yeah, it's glorified in movies, but if you really think about it, I think it'd be absolutely horrible.
Having the contest that surgeons used to have to see who could cut a leg off faster.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You hope you have the doctor that's really quick with it, but taking bets and stuff on who's going to be the fastest doctor to saw a leg off, crazy.
Paul Bunyan.
There you go.
Quickest one. Did you sharpen that axe?
Not to interrupt, but what are you drinking today?
Oh, yeah. We're just doing a quick little sipper. I wanted to neutralize the palate. I grabbed some Early Times Bottled in Bond, one of my personal favorites.
Well, and I'm doing the Rockers, a local spirit in Colorado here. I'm doing the Fool's Gold. It's not been bottled or released yet, so we got a little quick advance notice about it, or a little sample of it, I guess I should say. So pretty nice. Anyway,
it's curing our stress and anxiety.
I was going to say, all of a sudden,
my digestive issues and all the things.
I'm not even shaking anymore. I mean, look at this. I feel so good.
Right?
Today's society, you can read and find whatever you want to be true, whether it is or not. And that's with this, you find out like people are saying cures for cancer, helps with your mind, your mental health, can cure colds, can do like all these things that back in the day, this was prescribed for. I think they say medically, drink in moderation to not at all. Well, guess what? I don't like that belief. So I can find something that says it is definitely good to have alcohol every day if I want.
Right.
It doesn't cure a sore throat. Well, very little things do right away, but it does help soothe it. There's those type of ideas behind the booze. And again, I'll take a justification whenever I can to drink something that if I'm in the mood.
And that's why we have these bottles out.
And more particular with the history that you and I had growing up, why don't you say why we went after this one?
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Boston's Blackberry Brandy. And Mr. Boston was the specific brand. Like, we had to search this out. We looked around Colorado and could not find. We found different brands.
Multiple liquor stores, including Bevy's, which is huge.
Yeah.
We'd had to special order it.
Yeah.
If we wanted it.
We would have. So we looked around. I mean, we didn't scour the universe, but I was back in Iowa, which is where I remember it being everywhere, even at the bars. The original stories and a lot of people that I know back there can tell you a similar one, and mine was my grandpa had this in his medicine cabinet. If they were genuinely coming down with a cold, having a flu, not feeling well, they just take a shooter of that, and it just cures what ails you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, this was a staple in every bar, and in the fall, it was, rather than just a bottle in the bar, you would have a case, because come in, oh, I'm sick, I got to start drinking, though. Give me one of those. You know, you think about lozenges, and they kind of numb you. They have a coating effect, you know, cough medicines, lozenges. So these kind of have a coating effect. It coats your mouth. It coats your throat. You know, the alcohol does have some relaxing, numbing effects. So, you know, you definitely
there might
can
be
see
a
why.
little bit of a placebo effect of you look forward to taking this versus a gross medicinal cup of whatever.
Well, people get addicted to all sorts of medicines, even over-the-counter medicines. And I believe, I've heard at least one place somewhere that alcohol can be addictive. I'm not sure if that's right. We'll have to fact check ourselves on that.
Yes.
But
and it's not proven to cure a lot of the things that people thought it was. We're not saying pick up drinking as a cure for all that ails you. But it's just fun to talk about old stories and oh, this is going to be great.
So do you have any specific stories, any of these that you remember? What was something other than just, you know, for a sore throat or something you have?
Another reason why I have such an affinity here, just use that glass. Get a little more. Another reason why I have such an affinity for this is because there were even snow days where we went to the bar and they'd say, "Get out the Blackberry Brandy," and specifically Mr. Boston.
Yes. Thing that got us thinking about this was we were talking about Leopold Brothers, again, another Colorado distillery. They've got a blackberry whiskey, not brandy, whiskey. One of my favorite.
Well, you can't think that Blackberry Brandy's going to cure everything. So
well,
whatever doesn't cure, this doesn't cure, this
should.
will. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's just the fact that you said you were getting and doing shots in memory of these people that passed on. Obviously, the Blackberry Brandy didn't do its job if they had passed on. Now, if they had been doing the whiskey, they would still be here today.
Yeah.
Because
well, that's a fun folklore. We looked up that it, like, people genuinely thought it promoted life longevity because it balanced your humors, in quotation marks. But
that means, like, whether it was a good joke or a bad joke, your humors. If we don't get one bad dad joke
that's
in,
a bad one.
we don't get one bad dad joke
that's a bad one. Your humors are not balanced, sir.
Nope.
You are in your drink.
Then I need so I need to have some of this whiskey so I can balance my humor.
You are going to be the funniest guy I know as soon as you have a shot of this.
Exactly.
It will balance your humor.
Anyway, so Leopold Brothers, Denver, Colorado. It's Rocky Mountain blackberries that they use. They as a base, their small batch whiskey is what they do for their base. See, I poured more in mine because I need that help with my humor.
Yeah, I think you should top it off.
Well, that is definitely a different smell than...
It is. It's got kind of a wine
Yeah, absolutely.
smell to
Absolutely.
it. Like a
very full-bodied red wine.
Bing!
Yeah.
100%. I feel great.
So, a priest, a rabbi, and a monk walk into a bar. No. That is rich. That is very rich.
It is very rich.
That has... I would not think this is whiskey by any
I
means.
feel like this is what the church served for wine, like in the 1600s or the like medieval times.
No, this is what the rabbis and the cardinals drink for their wine.
Right.
And they let everybody else have the other.
I think this actually is very tasty. It's a sweet. It's like if a fruit juice from actual fruit was mixed with a whiskey, but I don't even get a ton of whiskey through it.
No. We used to do at the Whiskey Biscuit cocktails a New York sour, and we do it as a martini, but we would do a Pinot Noir float on top. This would have been a better float to have had on top of it.
Right.
You know, it would add some more alcohol to it, but this has. I'm glad you said that wine because this has such a bold wine flavor to me.
For sure.
And not a dry wine. Like honestly, I hate to say it like this, but like kind of that cheaper
fruity wine.
Paisano, the big jugs that my parents used to get.
Right.
But like very rich. Now, one of the things you also have to remember about these, they do say that once you open them, they're not like regular whiskeys where they're going to last forever. They do say that you should drink them within, exactly, get to work. 6 months to a year is kind of the shelf life, which is still, that's a pretty good long shelf life. If if it takes you 6 months to a year, you're just not getting sick enough in your life.
Let's not risk it.
Heck no.
This is like the vitamin C.
Mm-hmm. So going back to the medical thing in terms of stories when we were younger, I was in middle school, and I had such bad cough. Anybody whoever has lived with me knows that when I get sick and I get a cough, it is terrible. Coughing. And my mom came down with what she told me was honey, hot water, or warm water and honey. And she said, just throw it back. And I did, and it was no bueno. I was like, this is not good. She says, well, there's actually some whiskey in it. Trying to go back to sleep, still coughing. And then my mom comes down like 20 minutes later just with a shot of whiskey and goes, here, just do this. So, and it's like, so my mom
comes down the third time and you're like, I love you.
This relationship's never going to work.
Where's my sandwich?
And if you knew my mom, she's the sweetest little angel of a lady.
Yes.
And when she's coming down and going, just drink the whiskey.
Right.
But then the next night, she actually went and got NyQuil, and she got the real stuff.
I know you as an adult. I have to feel like if I knew you as a kid, I would feed you whiskey too.
Probably just get me to...
Do some whiskey. And I'll do it with you.
You need some more of this so you can get your humor up.
I do. Let's balance my
humor level.
Balance my humors. So I'm actually a fan of this.
Are you?
I am. It's a unique... I wouldn't drink this as much of like just sipping whiskey as if you can't find Mr. Boston's, then this would be in my medicine cabinet. I do think that it's a fun, unique flavor. It's
well, it's hard
to describe.
You're also a wine drinker, though.
I mean, like
you
wine.
like your wine.
I am a whiner.
Yes.
But I think that's why I even drink. One of my favorite wines is Robert Mondavi has a bourbon barrel cask, red. That cab that I like, and it has that just hint of the bourbon in with it, and I like that in my wine. So then I've also found a couple secondary finish whiskeys that I like.
You're a whiskey man as well as a wine guy, and to have that, I was going to say Bry the rye guy.
Wine.
He's Bry the rye guy.
I'm Bry the wine guy.
Bry the wine. Did you just think of that?
Yeah, I just thought
of that. I just made that up. I just thought of that now.
These would be great to bring on a winter camping trip, or in lieu of like a cinnamon schnapps or a peppermint schnapps. Bring these to also warm you up a little bit.
Well, and with that, I would rather personally pass this around the fire than Fireball.
You know what this would be great for is to mix into maybe like a sangria.
There are some really good ideas that maybe you could substitute this for. Don't get me wrong, a really higher end next level cocktail. Like, I know grenadine is a lot sweeter, and I make my own grenadine at the Whiskey Biscuit, but this could potentially be like a substitute, and you're gonna get a little more.
Well, and it could maybe be a substitute for 2 to 3 ingredients.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, sweet whiskey base, all that, absolutely. So you could do an old fashioned, and rather than doing the cherry and potentially the sugar, you could do the builds and add this, a skosh of that.
I'm glad we got to sit through these. This is going to take you down memory lane. Grab one that you had growing up. Not keep saying that, but grab one that you had that brings up memories, nostalgia, any of that stuff. Give it a sample. Try some new ones next to it and see what you end up liking.
This is really nice.
I really like it. I think you can get into something like that if you are a fan of wine and whiskey. That's a great compilation.
I do want to know, I think he does too, what was your
medicine cabinet? So that'd be fun to hear. Try something new. I'd recommend this Leopold Brothers. It's a delicious one, something like it. So either way, if you're going to try it, For us.